Well, hi everyone. I've got a little presentation here and it's around sustainable living in the suburbs. Now, this presentation was given today at my work, so it was well received, so let me just go through it. So, what is sustainable living? Well, my definition is living lightly on the planet without using excessive resources and within the limits enforced by nature. Now you can see this is my suburban home here. I live in Melton West, and you can see that the block size is 779 square metres. Now that is about a fifth of an acre, and you can see there that there are lots and lots of things that keep me occupied on my time off. Going from the left-hand side of that picture, we've got a veggie patch. We've also got some herbs and some fruit trees. Also, there's a greenhouse there. We've got solar PV on the carport roof. And we've also got some more solar there in the pool area, and that's the independent solar. We've got some more grapes, berries, oranges and the like there in the pool area. And two rainwater tanks. I have some rainwater captured, and we'll mention that a little bit further on. Over on the west side of the house, we've got the chooks, two chook houses. We've got some more fruit trees. My clay oven or cob oven is there under the veranda. There's a wicking bed there as well that has lots of herbs in it. And out the front of the house is my orchard, and there are 13 fruit trees there. This photo was a little bit old because I have my front veggie patch just there where I'm pointing the arrow. Now, also, I was a recent recipient of the Green Lifestyle Awards 2013, and I was the proud winner of the Local Green Hero Award, and I was highly commended for online eco info site as well for the Greening of Gavin. Now, why do I choose this lifestyle? Well, I had a bit of a moment. I was shocked into action after watching An Inconvenient Truth in 2006. And about 3/4 of the way through, I had a green epiphany. And you can see the worried look on my face there. That's not so worried about the green epiphany. That's probably more that I nearly cut my finger off chopping some onions off. But that's a different story. Now, why do I do it? I try to reduce my environmental footprint on the earth for my children and their future and unborn grandchildren to date. So, what have I done energy wise? Well, electricity, we've achieved 66% power reduction, and that's just through energy efficiency, things like turning off fridges, reducing the time on the swimming pool pump, and switching things off at the wall when we're not using them. That has really cut our electricity usage. And then from there on, as an appliance dies or breaks and can't be repaired, we basically buy a energy efficient appliance to replace that. Now, our daily average is between 1 and 12 kilowatt hours. Now, for natural gas, we have seen a 69.1% reduction in our natural gas usage since we started in 2006. Now, this is changing things because we've got a gas hot water service, and we change things out like putting aerators on taps. We put water efficient shower heads in both the showers, and we make sure that our heating is only on for an hour, maybe a day in winter, if that. But we check the insulation of the roof, and that's really good. And we make sure that we cover windows, which allow a lot of heat to escape in the summer. Now, we also have managed to cut that natural gas usage down a little bit by solar hot water. Now, we run the solar hot water service all year round, but 8 months of the year, the water is hot enough that I can turn the natural gas hot water service off. So I get 8 months of the year free hot water, which is pretty cool. And that services the whole house. Also, I've got solar PV, which is Grid Connect. I've got 2.8 kilowatt system there that we put in 2007. And I checked the measurements last night, and I was amazed to see that we had produced or generated over 23,287 kilowatt hours so far. So we estimate we produce about 75% of our own electricity needs. Now, as a backup, just in case the grid goes down and the solar PV system actually does turn off, the inverter turns off by law, so not to electrocute anybody who may be working on the lines. So we've got a solar PV standalone system, and these two panels, I won the ATA Renew Energy Magazine Blog of the Year. So I added some batteries to those and a very small inverter, and that provides us with 2.5 kilowatts of emergency power. And that works well. That also powers my water pump. Now, while we're talking about water, I've got an organic veggie garden, and you can see some before and after photos there. The top photo is what it looked before, and then we transform it into this food farm oasis, as I've been calling it lately, the suburban food farm. So we've got about 45 square metres now under production just for veggie patches. Trees, a little bit more. The whole front yard is an orchard. And we've got two 2,000 litre rainwater tanks, and that's powered, as I mentioned, by a solar-powered pump, a 12-volt pump that runs drip irrigation. So 4,000 litres of water, and we're looking at buying another rainwater tank because last summer we actually ran out of water with about a month to go before the rains came properly again. We've also got some worm farms. We've got 2 worm farms on the property, and we've also got 3 compost bins, and they help feed the garden and keep the soil fertility up in the raised garden beds. We've also got 27 fruit trees, some in pots. In the front yard, they're all on the ground, and they're all doing well at the moment. Being early summer here in Australia, they are all quite heavily laden with fruit. So food, what do we do with food? Well, all the excess food we actually preserve as much as we can, or freeze, blanch and freeze. So we process our homegrown fruit in a canning system called Fowler's Valcola. It's an Australian design system. We also make pasta sauces. We pickle vegetables, things like chilies and capsicums and stuff like that. And we make jams and jellies. And we make one of my favourite pickles, the brinjal pickle, which is an eggplant pickle that we have with curries. It's delicious. I've also tried my hand at pickling eggs, even though they do last for a long time and they do taste okay. I would rather just keep them and use them as we need to. Also, I make a homebrew beer, and you can see a picture there on the screen of my daughter and I, Amy, and we're brewing beer. And one of our rules is when we put the beer into the fermenter, we must drink a beer as well. Also, I make cheese. You can see a picture of the cheese there. That's a Cotswold cheese. I have a cheese making blog, which we'll mention in a minute. We have 10 chickens, and that's one of our chickens that are still alive there. That's Poppy Chicken, and they lay eggs every day, between 1 and up to 9 is the most I've had in one day. Also make bread occasionally, probably once a week, and we cook most of our own meals from produce in the garden and stuff we've augmented from farmers markets and the old supermarket trip. Now, one of my pet projects is that I've built a clay cob oven in the backyard, and that's under the veranda, and we use that probably once a month. We cook pizzas, and we cook other things like bread and that sort of stuff. I actually made it mostly from reused materials, most of the bricks, and certainly all the clay is dug out of the backyard. The bricks were reused. We had those left over from a path we dug up, so we used those as well. So it's probably about 75% of reused materials. Now, for transportation, I've got a Honda Civic Hybrid, and that gets 4.6 litres per 100 on a good day. When I'm driving around the town of Melton. If I do so, then I probably get about 5.5 litres per 100, and I offset the other the remaining carbon emissions via Greenfleet, which is a company here in Australia that plant trees for carbon offsets. But normally I just catch the train, the V-Line train, to work each day, drive my car to the station. It's about 7 kilometres from where I live. And on weekends, Ben and I go for a ride around town and pick any errands up if we need to, like putting in prescriptions at the chemist and things like that. Now, as for my blogs and podcasts, my main blog is the Greening of Gavin, and that web address is www.greeningofgavin.com, and that documents my sustainable living journey, as well as my whole family. Whole family has helped out, and I document all their stuff. So there's over 1,450 posts with 1.7 million page views at the moment. Also, I've got a cheese-making blog, as I hinted at before. It's called Little Green Cheese, and the website's www.littlegreencheese.com. There's about 120 posts, a little bit more, chock-a-block full of cheese-making recipes, video tutorials, and just tips and information about making cheese in your own home. Also, I have 2 podcasts, both titled the same as what the blogs are, and the Greening of Gavin, the frequency is about once a month, maybe 2 a month, and Little Green Cheese, I try and push out at least 3 a month. So they're available on iTunes and Stitcher. I also wrote about a lot of the things that I've done around the home in some sustainable living ebooks. There's 5 books at the moment. I'm currently working on a 6th, which is called The Suburban Food Farm, and I'm well into that at the moment. But these ebooks are available on the Greening of Gavin for purchase if you want to have a look at those. Some interesting titles there about stuff that I've done around the home. And really, in summary, one person can really make a difference, and so can one family, just if you put your mind to it. And you can see the world's biggest beetroot there that I've got in my hand that I grew. Now, the biggest impact that you can make in a suburban backyard is to grow your own food, and that certainly cuts down my food miles. And energy efficiency, because it doesn't cost anything. Energy efficiency is turning things off when they're not in use, or using them when you need them. So, for instance, when you walk into a room, turn the light on. When you walk out of the room, turn the light off. Pretty simple. It's just a behaviour thing. Speaking of behaviour, the way that I see life and the way that I approach everything with sustainable living is to be the change that I want to see in the world, which is a famous quote by Mahatma Gandhi. And it certainly rings true. By leading by example, people tell me via email every day that they feel inspired to take action themselves. So if you live in an area that's not so green or not so into sustainable living, just be aware that your very actions are noticed by people. You might not think so, but they are actually noticed by people. So thanks very much for watching my presentation. I hope you got something out of it.